Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a good morning to you. We're all in our places with sunshiny faces. It's July 27th. And I just came across something that I want to share with you. It was on Twitter. Every once in a while, something still pops up there that I find of interest or sort of happy surprise to come upon. It's rarer these days, but it came from the actor Russell Crowe. Great actor, Russell Crowe. And this shows him to not only be a great actor, but a wonderful writer. It's always so interesting to see that some of these people that, we know of as incredibly skilled in one area also are skilled in others and are multidimensional, fascinating, and very interesting people. I'm going to share it with you in its entirety. Last year, Russell Crowe writes, working in Ireland, having a pint in the cold outside a Dalkey pub with some new friends, a woman with purpose strode past us. Puffy Parker zipped to the nape and her bowed head covered in a scarf. One of my new friends muttered an exclamation, jumped up, and pursued the woman. 30 meters down the road, the friend and the woman embraced, and he waved me over. There, under streetlights, with mist on my breath, I met Sinead. She looked in my eyes and uttered with disarming softness, "Oh, it's you, Russell." She came with us back to the table and sat in the cold and ordered a hot tea. In a conversation without fences, we roamed through the recent Dublin heat wave, local politics, American politics, the ongoing fight for Indigenous recognition in many places, but particularly in Australia, her warm memories of New Zealand, faith, music, movies, and her brother, the writer. I had the opportunity to tell her she was a hero of mine. When her second cup was taking on the night air, she rose, embraced us all, and strode away into the fog-dimmed streetlights. We sat there, the four of us, and variously expressed the same thing. What an amazing woman. Peace be with your courageous heart, Sinead. Russell Crowe's fond and lovely remembrance. Wanted to share that. How the hell it got through the crap that thing has become. Okay, what's a UAP? And why? UAP. Do you know what it is? You know what a UFO is, right? Well, that's what a UAP is. So who is the genius that decided that they should change UFO, which everybody understood, to UAP? UFO, as far as I understand, is unidentified flying object. UAP, which I guess is now the proper term, is unidentified aerial phenomena. Okay, So they kept the unidentified. They changed out aerial for flying. And frankly, they both conjure the same thing, right? Okay, so something unidentifiable that's up in the air. And then change the last word from object to phenomena. Now, that's the only part of it where it sort of broadens, because an object sounds to me like something solid. A phenomena, I suspect, could be something other than solid. But again, I ask, what the hell was wrong with UFO, and how many meetings, how much paperwork, how many brainstorming sessions and heated arguments took place at the Pentagon or wherever the hell this would have come from to decide to take a term that was widely understood and doing a pretty good job and change it to, as you could probably hear, the dog has not been picked up yet. But he's barking because the person who will take him is coming in the door, as he happily notes. Okay, so we have UAPs, which are the now newfangled term for UFOs, and it all amounts to the same damn thing, okay? But you do wonder how much man and woman power was employed to come up with that nonsense. If anybody knows something more about it than my take, which is based on nothing but my own animus for such piddly little upendings of things that we all understand. Now, I'm going to still call them UFOs. Again, it's like what we were talking about the other day. I don't care what they change things to. You can call it Acrisure Stadium till you're blue in the face. I don't know. I think of it now as Heinz, but I mean, for a long time, it wasn't Heinz. It was Three Rivers. And PNC Park? Is that still PNC Park? Screw this. I so appreciate communities that somehow manage to avoid the lure of corporate sponsorship and the money it brings, and name their arenas and their stadia a name that stays with it. You know? God. Man, I'll tell you, all hell would break loose if Lambeau Field became anything else. All hell would break out. And I'm sure that's true of, I don't know, Fenway Park. Wrigley Field still stands, doesn't it? Although it was a corporate name, yes. Double your flavor, double your fun. Okay, enough. Those of you who've listened to this program for any length of time know that if I've already sung, or what it passes for singing, twice, and we're barely into the show, that I don't know that that's a harbinger of anything good. Okay, from UFOs to UAPs, and I got two others, okay? Do you know what a TIA is? Or a TGA? Because I've seen those two in acronyms in the news today, and just want to wing them by you. TIA, TSA, TGA. No, TSA does not belong there. But this has to do, of course, with that. I'm assuming you saw it, that 20-second frozen Mitch McConnell. What the hell? And then they have the gall to come out and refuse to answer any questions about it. I'm fine. I'm fine. That's not normal. I'm sorry. Not normal. So a lot of people thought it looked like a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, like a mini stroke. And I also saw floated that it was a transient global amnesia. And seeing as we're all too, they play us like fools, right? Acting as if, what? Something happened? Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. But I did see one person suggest, and this again is just coming out of nowhere and is not a doctor, but somebody said, yeah, something like that happened to me. They told me it was a transient global amnesia, a TGA. I had 4 of them back in 2019. They lasted 15 to 20 seconds. I couldn't speak. I was totally alert. I was aware of what was going on. And after every test in the book, they decided it was transient global amnesia. A medical term that means we have no idea what the hell happened to you. TGA, TIA, yada, 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 yada. Okay. So there's all of that. Where do we want it? Kevin Spacey, not that I give a damn, but whoa, Teflon. Here's a guy who clearly, sorry, even his own legal representative says right here, said that Spacey lived a promiscuous lifestyle, and he was putting that out there as saying so it made him, an easy mark for false allegations from guys who he had been promiscuous with. But he has beaten every one of these things, for as long as I can remember, which sometimes is about 22 seconds. But as long as I can remember, and in this case, years, Kevin Spacey has been, had his legal dagger hanging over him with accusations, certainly on this side of the pond, by a known actor, Anthony Rapp, who had accused him of assaulting him when Rapp was all of 14 years old. And I don't think Anthony Rapp needed it for the money. He's a well-known and prolific actor, but he did not win that case. Spacey was found by a federal jury in Manhattan not liable or battery. I mean, I don't know why it wasn't a sexual thing. Who the hell knows how these legal statutes are written. But Rapp said Spacey had climbed on top of him and made a sexual advance when he was 14 years old. Spacey beat that Rapp a year ago. And now he's beaten, 6 others? How many people were saying he did something to them? And his Elton John came to his defense. Not quite sure how, but he did. I guess one of the guys said he was assaulted on the way to Elton John's famous white tie and tiara ball. And that he was driving, the accuser, and that Spacey went after him and they almost veered off the road. He had grabbed his genitals so hard. Well, so Elton John got called to the stand and said, Kevin Spacey only came to the ball once, and that was in 2001. And this guy is saying that this happened in 2004 or something. So Elton John helped Kevin Spacey there. Who the hell knows? I'm just saying, I don't know where there's that much smoke. Just seems to me. But here's the thing. None of that is, I don't care. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what Kevin Spacey said upon learning he'd beaten the Rapp yet again. Ha! Beaten the Rapp! Oh, man. Anthony Rapp? He'd beaten the Rapp one more time. He was heard to say, God help us, outside the courtroom, before getting into a taxi. I am humbled by the outcome. Now, you all, I suspect, know that I get up in arms about the abuse of words. How is that the right word? I'm humbled? Well, I mean, stop and think. You have just dodged a huge, I don't know, a felony, whatever. Yeah, whatever. And you're humbled. That's not what you are. I mean, I don't know, but why would you all... I'm so sick of people saying they're humbled when they're not. For one thing, we live in a culture and in an era when humility, when being a humble person means you're a total non-entity. I mean, I'm sorry, you don't even exist. You are not even in the, do you even have a name? Humility, humbleness, all of that is like not even, this is why it is so misused. It's not even understood in this self-centered, narcissistic, me culture. We should know from humble? I don't think. Humble is not something we do. And I wonder, because now we do understand that language changes, and people like me who get all up in arms about watching as language changes in ways we don't agree with are doomed, because people's usage of words is what determines what they mean. And what I'd like to know is, how the hell would you define humble now, when people who are awarded huge honors always, first thing out of their mouths, I'm humbled? No, you're not. I mean, let's just say this. I doubt it. You're so proud you could pop your buttons. is the opposite. Why say the opposite? If you get a huge award, you're proud. What's wrong with feeling proud? What's wrong with saying, I'm proud? This feels good, this recognition. And instead, you have to do this song and dance of pretending that instead you're humbled. No, you're not in any way, shape, or form. Oh, I can see how you could twist it and say, there's really no way I am deserving. I guess that's what it's about. No way I am deserving of this great honor. I am humbled to be among the many before me who have received it. It's bullshit. So God help Merriam or Webster or Funk or Wagnall if they've got to, in 10 years, come up with what is the definition of humbled, because it has changed to meaninglessness. A term used when deflecting attention from what one is really feeling. Now, what I don't know. What could Kevin Spacey have said? I mean, what do I think? Okay, I've just been found innocent of all of these charges, which would have just finished me off, my career, my reputation, everything. And humble is not. Okay, I am relieved. There's a good possibility. I am grateful to the jury. I am excited. I am overwhelmed. I'm so happy I could scream. I'm going to the nearest pub and having something to drink. But I'm not humbled. Okay, I'll stop. Boy. It is so rare to see anybody humbled in any way. And often to be humbled is to be brought low, right? And people who are being elevated or acclaimed, to use the word that really can be meaning, pay no attention to me, I am nothing, I am nobody, is okay. Cullen, stop it! Stop it! Oh. I think I'm under control. No, I'm humbled. So what we got here? Oh, so I mentioned UFOs and UAPs and all that, but I didn't talk about the fact that the Congress of the United States, the House specifically, had a hearing. That's why this came up, right? Had a hearing yesterday about UAPs, UFOs, and all things in between. And wait. Before I move on to the heavenly spheres, Barbara has actually taken the time to look up the meaning of humble. Okay. And it says made less proud. Well, yeah, which is totally the opposite. Okay. Especially by awe or admiration, or by gratitude for help received, or an undeserved honor or advantage. Oh, well, if he's humbled, maybe he's saying the jury got it wrong. It was an undeserved verdict. Geez, I'm humbled. I beat that rap. Oops, again. Yeah. No. Linguistic abuse doesn't rise to the level of things like sexual abuse or spousal abuse or child abuse or any of that, but sure sets me off. Anyway, so it says right here in a somber chamber of the Rayburn House Office building, a former national intelligence official yesterday told representatives that the U.S. government is sheltering alien spacecraft. Now, that's on like some really interior page. I don't have the page number here. It would seem to me if I think like before the Trump era, that would have been front page because that's too absurd right there. That a former national intelligence official has told a House committee that the government is sheltering alien spacecraft. That sounds front page, even for as serious a paper as the New York Times. But it's really buried here. But I don't know. We're living, when you're down the rabbit hole, you're willing to entertain anything. So they brought in to testify these pilots. Of course, we've heard of pilots many times. They're up there flying around and they see stuff that cannot be explained. So they had some of them, pilots, saying they've seen things do what no flying object or aerial phenomena known to us is capable of doing. And but it's this guy named David Grush. He's the former intelligence official. And he worked, his job was working with the Pentagon task force looking into UAPs or UFOs if you want to be old-fashioned. And he, in sworn testimony, said that there were long-standing, top-secret programs within the U.S. government and that they possess materials of non-human origin that were taken from crash sites. Well, I was just looking at that again. Well, non-human origin from crash sites, I see that all the time. Called roadkill. Right? It is non-human, and it was a result of a crash. I wonder if they got a bunch of dead possum and deer and skunks and stuff somewhere in a Pentagon basement. Anyway, and then he went on to say they wouldn't tell him much about any of it. He said it was a reverse engineering program. I guess they were trying to reanimate the roadkill. I don't know. Don't have a clue. And the Pentagon, in response, was heard to say that we have no verifiable information to substantiate claims that any programs regarding the possession of reverse engineering of extraterrestrial materials has existed in the past or exist currently. And we are humbled to have put out this statement. And then one of the congresspersons asked this guy, are you aware of any people who have been harmed or threatened or injured in any way who are attempting to let the people know about this? And he said, yeah. But he couldn't go on. He said, well, you want to ask me things, has anybody been murdered as part of the effort to hide these UFOs, UAPs, or roadkills? He said, Congressman, I cannot talk about that in a public session. So I don't know where you come down to this. I am always open. I definitely think there is life out there that would look on our puny lives and have a good laugh, I suppose. And one of the congressmen who was at this hearing, a Republican of Missouri, which right away qualifies him as an idiot. I don't know. Have you ever seen these Republicans from Missouri? Good God in heaven. He was skeptical, though. He said, the concept that an alien species is technologically advanced enough to travel billions of light years and then gets here and is somehow then incompetent enough to not survive the landing and crash, that's something I find a little far-fetched. Oh, God. It sort of reminds me of what did I see? Somebody, again, with the artificial intelligence thing, some human saying that the machines will never get the upper hand because, again, what they always go into is they lack the ability to imagine, our capacity for, I don't know what. But imagination was a big part of why they said machines cannot have imagination. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't doubt it, but. And this was like a very smart person that was saying this, and I was thinking, talk about needing some humility here. Just because we have something we call imagination, where we can conjure anything our little heads can come up with. Because we possess that makes us bigger and better than what? I mean, talk about a lack of imagination. If you think our imagination, our capacity for imagination, puts us above something that we have decided can't possibly have that kind of imagination, it just shows what a lack of imagination we, in fact, possess. And lack of humility. We are not the be-all and end-all. That's such a big part of our problem. Oh, we'll be humbled. We'll find the true definition of humility, and we ain't gonna like it. My God, Mother Nature is humbling us every few minutes these days, right? What you gonna do about that, you big bad people? Huh? Not what you have to do, because, well, that would go against your enjoying yourselves. I don't know, guys. Speaking of nature, got this from the New Yorker magazine. The CEO of Shell Oil. Remember the other day I was telling you about this wonderful woman, this strange, wonderful lawyer who's helping certain Puerto Rico cities sue Shell Oil and Exxon and Mobil and the whole bunch of them for essentially aiding and abetting the destruction of their island, their towns, by virtue of creating the climate change that is resulting in hurricanes that literally are obliterating an island that withstood hurricanes, the old kind of hurricanes that we had in the past. And here's something that's fascinating. So Shell Oil in 2021, showing what a good corporate citizen it was, said that it fully intended to reduce its oil and gas production. I mean, that's how it makes its money. It was going to reduce its production by 1 to 2% a year for the next 9 years. Oh, be still, my heart. Can you imagine the financial hit that would result in? Okay, but that was considered a big to-do. Yes, they're going to cut. They're going to still be going at 98 to 99%. But but for those 9 years, man, they ain't going 100. And that just shows how committed they are to doing something about this. And then you know what happened? Well, oil and gas prices went sky high. The war in Ukraine doubled Shell's annual profits. A record $40 billion Shell took in. And, you know, at Shell's corporate board meetings, record 40 million, let's just say they weren't humbled. And so they said, while they remain committed to fighting climate change, cutting our production would actually be irresponsible. And this is the CEO told the BBC it would be irresponsible because if we cut production, the cost of living could start to shoot up. And think of all of the poor people. I'm sure the execs in the Shell boardroom are always thinking of all the poor people. Now, the funny thing is this interview with the BBC aired July 6th, 2 weeks ago. But July 6th happened to be the day that scientists said was the hottest day in human history. So this piece in the New Yorker starts, this is the opening sentence. In the list of ill-timed corporate announcements, historians may someday give pride of place to one made by the CEO of Shell, saying, we don't need to do anything here because we're making so much money we can't see straight. And we got to be sure that the poor folks all over the world don't find the cost of living going up. Anyway, the temperatures, where did I have this? On July 3rd, the average temperature was, they're doing this in Celsius. Oh my, I'm an American. I don't know from Celsius. We gave it a shot way back when I was a kid, but it didn't take. We were truly humbled. Anyway, it says right here that if we keep on going exactly as we are going, nothing even remotely resembling human civilization could be alive in a world as hot as this. Heat kills. The temperature of the ocean, like that of the air, has never been higher in human history. And, here again, I guess we should be humbled, because here we are facing, and have been for some time, and been told what's going to happen, and we won't act. We won't act. Amazing. I bring you back to 1988, a guy named James Hansen. That maybe should ring a bell. James Hansen was the major scientist at NASA. James Hansen in 1988 told Congress that we were heading into something in which humans could not survive. And he said the companies that are putting, the gas and oil companies, know of the risks, but they continue to deny the science. And so since 1988, we've done not much of much. Meanwhile, the CEO of Shell told the guy at the BBC that he was thinking Shell could possibly move its headquarters. And where they are right now is the UK. And he told the BBC, we're thinking of maybe pulling out of here. And where would you go? Said the BBC. And he said, we'd go to the United States, where oil companies get higher market prices for their shares. Because the Brits, its government, its hapless government, has actually implemented a windfall profits tax on energy companies there. If Shell were to move here, they'd be able to keep more of their life-destroying, earth-destroying gains. Just saying. Just saying. Now, Lynn writes, "Hi, Lynn. I call the breaded fried items at the Eaton Park breakfast buffet UFOs, unidentified fried objects." Ah! I have to admit, I haven't seen an Eaton Park salad bar breakfast buffet in some time. So you mean there's just these encrusted, you can't tell from the shapes maybe what's under all that oil? Unidentified fried objects. That's good. And God knows we appreciate any laugh. Speaking of the heat, and I was glad to see this. Yesterday I was running an errand, and I saw some guys working. I saw a lot of people working outside. I saw some guys building a wall, and they had put up a portable awning for themselves, so that at least while they're making this wall, they were under this temporary awning that they jiggered all by themselves to keep from being in, with the sun beating on them directly. It was hot enough anyway, and I thought, well, good for them. Good for them. And then I thought, I'm willing to bet that this is their own initiative at play, because I have mentioned before, given this new normal, and it is, all the people who work outside, and God knows that's a whole ton of humans, they're not protected. And it turns out I'm right. It turns out OSHA, which would be the federal agency, which would make rules about what companies and employers have to do if you've got workers working in these inhuman or not conducive to human health or survival kinds of heat conditions, that you got to make sure that they're safe. And turns out that today, while you elect Democrats, President Biden has informed the Labor Department to ramp up its workplace safety enforcement standards having to do with heat. I mean, dozens of workers die from heat-related from heat exposures. And it is OSHA, which is part of the Labor Department, is going to have to come up with, and this is where the Republicans go nuts. Oh, more regulations. It's about ensuring, and mostly think of the farm workers, the people who put food, without their labor, there's no food on your table. And much of that work is already being done by people with none of the legal protections you have because they're technically illegal people, making next to nothing. And it's agriculture workers, construction workers that I would imagine are most at risk. But good God. So OSHA is now going to have to be developing some kind of heat safety regulations. In Phoenix, at least 7 heat-related deaths in the last week. Hospitals are saying that they are treating people for third-degree burns just from touching the pavement. So, glad to see that. Barbara, you're always sending me such happy stuff. Well, understandably, because I'm such a happy camper myself. This is from Tom Hartman. The headline is Earth Close to the Great Dying. Oh boy. Says here, you may remember the 2004 disaster movie The Day After Tomorrow, in which large parts of Europe and the American East Coast suddenly freeze up. I do not. The plot device is that the great conveyor belt, known as the Atlantic Meridional Overturning so much. Anyway, this phenomenon, which brings heat from the South Pacific around the southern tip of Africa, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's why Europe can grow enough food to feed its 740 million people. If this circulation coming up from the warmer parts up into the northern parts was to stop, the continent would be plunged into famine in a matter of years. Anyway, the scientists have warned that this could be and had placed the danger zone for the failure of what we know as, isn't that what they call I'm trying to remember what I learned that was called, why it's so much, even though it's so far north, like up in the UK, and there's warmer currents coming up. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Anyway, they say this could happen in the early 22nd century. Okay. Well past the lifetimes of most people living today, the proclamation. Okay, never mind. Are we? Jeez. Okay. I'm sorry. I've lost my my mail, and I'm trying to get to it because I had some more mail to share with you. Hang on, he's coming. Jennifer Wright. Oh, well, this is okay. I'm writing with a topic you might find interesting. My mom has been a long-time listener for as long as I can remember, going back to WTAE. Oh, and she thinks you'd be interested in my new book. Okay. I published an academic book about letters I found in an attic written by Jewish American students at Purdue in 1931. Okay, well, I'll look at that. Nothing like finding what American Jews were writing and saying in 1931 as they looked with concern. I think I mentioned that a researcher at the Holocaust Museum came upon a letter written by my grandfather, who I never knew. He died when my dad was 18 years old. But he, my grandfather, had written a letter to the senator from Wisconsin at the time, whose name and it was like 1930 something, 31. And he was begging this guy to have the Senate and the U.S. government do something about helping the Jews of Europe. Now, this is before supposedly we knew anything was really going on, but it was going on. And when I think of how many letters, pleading letters, I'm going to assume they are fearful letters. I mean, it was really, it was amazing to see this letter having been written by my grandfather. I never had the privilege of knowing. Everything I've ever seen about him has been, well, it's made me proud. Not humbled. It's made me proud. So maybe this isn't about Jews. I don't know. But that's where it sent me off of. Anyway, Jennifer, you lucked out there that I started reading that before I realized what it was. Hang in there, and I'll maybe be getting back to you. And this is a great one. Remember the pickleball? You know, in Edgewood, there's a pickleball furor afoot, and in New York City, there are pickleball furors afoot. It turns out that this latest fad, I tend to resist all fads. I just hate being part of the early adopter crowd. If something is worth knowing about, it'll hang in there. I'll come around to it after the furor dies down. Pickleball is driving a lot of people insane, apparently. And it's not just here. This is a story from Canada. And it involves a poor couple who had bought a dream house in next to a park. And then, damn if the park didn't put in 3 pickleball courts right next to their house. So they had purchased the house, not knowing that this was going to happen. They loved the fact that there was a park right there, and they could hear children playing, and and people enjoying the lovely park. But then the pickleball came. And these guys were curious enough to say, oh, let's see what this is all about. So they actually tried to play it a few times. And anyway, the sound, this is what it is. It's noise pollution. The sound that the balls make when hitting the ground and the rackets is at such a decibel intensity that it drives some people nuts. Anyway, these two started having their health affected. They couldn't sleep. The guy is an English professor. And both he and his wife ended up seeing therapists. They were losing their minds. Their 23-year-old daughter, who lives in Vancouver, said she wasn't going to visit them. She tried once and couldn't sleep while she was there, and said, whatever. Anyway, these guys are Indian Canadians, originally from India. They went back to India for a while to sleep and then returned to their home. On the way, they decided to take a page from Indian history. And the man sent a letter to the government of his city, which is Chilliwack. And he wrote this: as staunch followers of Mahatma Gandhi, we have decided to follow the path shown by him to deal with systemic injustice. And they hung a big banner outside of the pickleball courts announcing daily hunger strike against harassment and discrimination by the city of Chilliwack. And so they began their hunger strike sitting on the pickleball courts. Now there's three of them. So they're sitting, let's say, in the center one, and on both sides of them, people are playing pickleball. It turns out, hunger striking is no laughing matter. The woman gave up very quickly. She couldn't do it. She got sick. Then he started getting sick. They were out there in the rain. They were out there in the heat. And finally, he ended his hunger strike after just 50 hours. And he said, I'm not Gandhi. Anyway, I'm telling you that people are being driven to distraction by pickleball. It too is a fad. It's as many people who are saying, oh, I love to play pickleball. There are people who are like seeing attorneys, seeing therapists, being treated for, actually, these guys ended up being treated for auditory hallucination, so that even when the pickleball wasn't happening, they were hearing it anyway. It was like an earworm to them. But it turns out, guess what? Looks like it might have worked. The city has said it is going to close the court. They did it! Close the courts in November. So they're almost, they can hang in there. Hang in there. And the city intends to build an indoor pickleball facility. Yay! Yay! Let's hear it for civil disobedience. And another win for Gandhi. I love it. Okay. I think that's it. I just saw something here about Shell Oil that is local, but the cracker plant near here that is polluting the air, the water, who else knows what. They have agreed to give the state $5 million to be used to, I don't know, ameliorate, moderate. No, it actually doesn't do anything for the Shell plant. It's like to help the people who are being besieged by the Shell plant's emissions to, I don't know, live with it. God, way to go, Shell. I just want to say, I don't know what you got in your 401ks. I don't know what, if you are making money because you own stock in these oil companies, shame on you. That's all I'm saying. Shame on you. Oh, I don't mean to end the show like that. How do you end a show? Have I told you the time my acting teacher in New York said, you couldn't make an exit if you... I have trouble saying, I have trouble leaving. I do, which is I become all thumbs. But I am leaving. I feel very sure of that. And I'll talk at you again on Monday. The good Lord willing and the creeks don't rise. And a tip of the hat to the late, great Doug Hurth.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.